It's 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, so it's time for our LinkedIn Live session. And this time it's Ask Me Anything. I'm going to be answering your questions that you post in the chat. I don't know how many questions I can answer, but I can answer a lot of them in an hour. So go ahead and post a question, or just post hi and tell us where you're joining us from. Our mission at Human Workplace is to reinvent work for people. So we're really keen on talking about people at work and culture and leadership and branding and all that good stuff. And the topic today is just ask me anything you want to know. So please leave a comment and I'll start reading the comments and answering some of them aloud. And I hope it's helpful, give you some answers to some things that might be on your mind. So hello from Poland. Welcome. Jak się pan ma? I want a job. Okay. We can talk about how to get a job. Welcome from Nigeria. Very good to see you. From Western New York. All right. And job in hospitality. And what else have we got? From Oman. Hello. Nairobi, Kenya. Start a new job. And I'm not liking it. Isn't a good fit. How to quit gracefully. Let's start with that. How do you quit a new job gracefully? Well, it's a new job, so it's you've got the best reason to leave that there is. I started and it isn't for me. It's no diss, no slur, no insult to the company. Just thank you so much for the opportunity. I really feel like it's probably worth your time to find somebody this is a natural fit for, and it's not a great fit for my background, but I certainly wish you folks all the best. And if you'd like me to stick around for a couple of weeks and clean some things up or create some procedures, I'm very happy to do that, or I can also not. So it's a very easy exit in your case. They might be startled, but better for them to know now. And that's what you can also say. I wanted to let you know as soon as I realized it's not exactly a great fit for my background, and nothing to apologize for. They were at the interview the same way you were. Just practice a little bit in front of the mirror, or practice with a friend or your cat and say, I wanted to thank you, Samantha, your manager, so much for the opportunity. It's not a great fit. And I wanted to, let you know that so you could start looking for someone else. If you'd like me to stay a little while until you get that person, or if you'd like me to leave now, either one is fine, right? You have nothing to feel bad about or regret, or certainly to apologize for. But best of luck to you in your next opportunity. Okay, I just found out I made a mistake. I have to come with answers on how to rectify any other suggestions. Don't know what that means. Can you try again with a little more detail? Been in the federal government for 15 to 20 years, looking to exit and start new. So that's rebranding, right? Reinvention and rebranding. It starts with looking at what do you want to do next, not just I need a job, because this is what we tend to do. I need a job, give me a job. And it's a shame because we don't have those pauses all the time. And of course, we're worried about money. I have bills to pay, but you owe yourself a little bit of expansion in your thinking, right? I teach this. We have courses about it, and I wrote a book about it called Reinvention Roadmap. Get a journal. When you're in reinvention, get a journal and start writing in it. What are the things that you've thought about doing apart from what you've been doing in the federal government? What are some things you were interested in exploring? A lot of people will hire you. You're coming from the federal government. You have great stories to tell. You have great experience. They're a very credible and well-known employer, obviously, and it's your choice. And I want you to really relax into that idea of choice and take the time to decide what you want to do next, and then brand yourself for that kind of job specifically on LinkedIn and in your resume. This is not, please, Your Majesty, I can do all these things. It's not about that. We know you can do gazillions of things. It's what do you want and plan to do? What do you intend to do? Setting that intention is so powerful because your branding falls out of that intention, the career direction you choose. It does require some research, going out and looking at job ads, and also browsing LinkedIn to look at the profiles of LinkedIn users and see what they do for a living. Some of it's really, really interesting and eye-opening. And once you decide, then you're going to brand yourself for that kind of job specifically. So if you have questions about that, type those in the chat too. I recently received a promotion, but they gave my existing job away before talking to me. I'm not sure I understand what that means. You were planning to do both jobs, the old and the new? Felt more like a punch in the gut because they gave my job to someone who had given notice that they didn't want to lose. I'm not clear. You received a promotion usually means I'm doing something new and it's not up to me, or I really have no opinion. I want you to not have an opinion about what they did to a job that you're not in anymore, right? Why would they talk to you? If you left the company, or if you went to another department, they wouldn't talk to you about what to do. Try not to take that personally. They didn't want to lose a person. That's legit. That's a legit reason to give somebody a role. We want companies to respond when people say I'm not happy, right? So maybe I need more detail to understand exactly what it is I might be misconstruing. But generally, when you get good news, what happens to the job you left, or the ex that you broke up with, or the apartment you no longer live in is like up to the universe, right? I don't want you to worry about that. I'm not in the medical line, but in construction as an architect. That's interesting. Most people would say I'm an architect rather than I'm in construction. But again, I'm not judging the language. It's just architecture is pretty rarefied job in construction. I wish to get a work permit too. Lost it. Can't help with work permits, unfortunately. In your country, my country, the U.S., immigration lawyer, more so than me. There are H-1B visas that are technical visas that people get to come to the United States from all over the world, but they're technical, so they're pretty specific, software engineering and that sort of thing. Architecture is possible. I know nothing about it, but what you want is an immigration lawyer. I had to resign from my job due to X reasons. How do you handle it in the next interview? Oh, that's an easy one. Here we go. I had a great experience at that organization, but it was, time to leave. The learning had slowed down, and it wasn't the kind of job I could do halfway while waging or conducting a job search on the side. So I resigned to give my full attention and full time to my job search. That's the answer to that question, right? It's bad that companies still ask, why did you leave? I don't know, dysfunction, sexual harassment, discrimination, pay inequity. I mean, come on. They shouldn't ask you to disclose these things when we've been told for literally 40 years, don't say anything bad about your past employer. Well, the reality was bad, but I'm not supposed to say. So I'm giving you this blanket answer. If you quit your job before you had a new job lined up, which happens to a lot of people or everyone, at some point, then you say, it was a great learning experience, but it was clearly time to leave. And I didn't want to try to wage a job search on the side while I worked at the job, so I quit. That's it. Okay. Can you talk about why performance reviews are more harmful than helpful? How to approach if you receive an average or less than review? I am not a fan of performance reviews, as Iris knows. I don't think they're helpful. You know what's helpful? Planning, strategizing, brainstorming, celebrating successes, talking about learning that we got or learning that we still can get from things that didn't go as planned. Looking back over the year and saying, oh, back in March, we had a little problem with this thing. What is the point of that? I'm not a fan of performance reviews. I'm not a fan of grades in school. Little kids, this is our mindset. You got an A, you got a B. All the research says that the kids who get the A's get a lot out of the report card. Nobody else does, right? I come to school and I got a C, and you're the teacher and you're in charge, but you're also evaluating me based on how well I took in the information that you presented. How nuts is that, right? So I'm not a fan of grades, and I'm not a fan of performance reviews. I think they're harmful to focus. They take time away that we could be doing the work. No, we're going to stop and have everybody in the company, every manager is going to review every employee and sit down and grade them and rank them and rate them. It's dumb. We should be talking about the future, and we should be talking about it organically every day, not some big stupid process once a year. I hope I answered your question, but if not, come back and let me know. Greetings from here. Where's here? Where's here? That one's already gone. It slipped down. Let's see if I can get it back. Best way to balance demonstrating grace and frustration when advised I'm promotion ready but have missed out without concrete feedback. This is there's no you're here's what you're doing, Ben, is you're focusing on them. I'm promotion ready, but they haven't promoted me, but I don't have feedback. They are not significant in your life. And this is a central tenet of human workplace mindset. They are bit characters in your movie, Ben. You are the star and the director and the director of cinematography or whatever, and you are everything. You're the costume designer, set designer. They grace and frustration, all of this is excess, unnecessary emotion towards people that do not matter in the scheme of your life, Ben. Okay, this is your sister or aunt Liz talking to you. Who cares about that? If they don't give you the promotion that you feel you deserve, you will look at the wide world because there are millions of other employers you could work for. We have this idea, well, it's all up to them. And so, how do I manage my emotions? Why are you managing your emotions for anybody, sweetheart? You don't need to do that. You are powerful. Grace and frustration, no. I don't want you even thinking about those things. I want you to do the job and I want you to look outside your company walls at all the other places where you could work and decide if they didn't promote you, then is it still a compelling enough place for you to still be there? Why do they deserve you long enough to wait for the next promotion? And are you guaranteed to get the next promotion? Sounds like no. They gave you no concrete feedback. So you say, okay, let me get my feedback from the world, from the other people, because there's 7.5 billion other people. This is my message. Look out. Grace and frustration is like you contorting yourself into pretzel shapes to try to be okay with other people. Why? They're no one. They are no one to you. Do you understand what I'm saying? How can you communicate effectively to the hiring manager that you know more than what is written on the resume? You have to speak it. It's not that you know more than what's written. First of all, put it on the resume. Put it on the resume. Why is it not on the resume if it's relevant to the job? Get it on there. Give them a teaser. You don't have to lay out the whole thing of what you know, but you say, I did X about Y, and it's going to prompt a question. You're going to tell stories in your resume, right? I made this thing happen. I created an email marketing campaign that brought in $2 million in sales. They're going to want to ask you how you did it. And now you get to tell them, right? I found a process bug that was costing our company months and months of person power, staff power, and I solved it and sped our time to market with new products. And they're going to ask you, oh, tell me about that. You want your resume to get them to bring you in for an interview to find out about the details about the stories that you hint at in your resume. That's why you got to tell stories in your resume rather than say, I used C++ for 2 years. No one cares. To do what, though? To do what? To do what? Tell us what you use those skills for. Make sense? What was the good effect? These comments are a little jumpy, so I'm going to have to go through them a couple times if we have time. So I apologize if I kind of get a little bit of your comment and not the whole thing. Got terminated from my job recently without any valid reason, gave my own 100% and never got any negative feedback from the company. The whole incident has affected me mentally and broke my confidence in myself. How do I put myself together and step into the industry with confidence? Great question. This happens to a lot of people. No reason. If you're in the US, I hope you're not in the US at this moment, because if you're in the US and you get terminated with no reason, they don't even have to give you severance. In other countries, at least they have to give you a severance, meaning some extra pay after you leave. But here they don't. But I don't want this to affect your confidence because they don't have the right to get inside your heart and make you feel less good about yourself. They let you go. It happens all the time. It's business. It's not personal. They will tell you it's not personal. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother LinkedIn Live. But the worst damage they could do would be to get inside your head and make you feel less smart and less capable than you are, because you're ridiculous. You're awesome and you're smart and you're talented. And there's going to be other people that are going to see that better than these people did, right? We have this idea that if some employer, this was our previous questioner, participant, attendee, friend, who said, they didn't promote me. And so how am I supposed to feel? Don't feel bad about yourself. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. That's the worst damage they can do to you at work, right? is to affect your self-esteem. Nobody gets to affect your self-esteem. They do not have permission. That's a level of access that is denied. You know what I'm saying? You got to remind yourself. And here's the thing, surround yourself with people who get you and who grow your flame. So come on these LinkedIn Lives and I'll do it. Surround yourself with people who will remind you of what you know inside, which is that you are everything you need to be and nothing is lacking and you're not defective in any way. Unfortunately, there are people sometimes in our past, teachers, even family members, whoever, that put us down and make us feel bad. And when something negative happens out in the working world, all those old tapes come back and play in our heads and say, oh, well, you're not smart, or you're not this, you're not that. No, 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 no. They do not have permission to do that to you. You're amazing. I would get a journal and write in it. And I would also surround yourself with people who make you feel really, really good. That's what I would do. How do we get rid of losers on our chat who have no life, sadly, and therefore need to come on the, oh, it's YouTube, of course. Boom, boom. Okay, hopefully that's that for that person. Yeah, what else we got? Let's see. Get back to some real comments from real people. Here. Slide around. We had some really good comments. We just have to find them. Let's see. Thank you, Victoria. So glad that you're here. Someone kind of hijacked our comments a little bit from, oh, here we go. After I left the job, if I started a startup, how to make clientele. Okay. Normally, if you want to do a startup, that is great. But normally in a startup, you either have to have one of two things or both. You have to have a job on the side to support you while you're getting the startup to go and generate income, or a savings, like people say 6 months of household expenses, so that you have that money set aside when you do the startup. I'll be happy to tell you how to get clients for your startup, but it's very hard to do a startup and immediately have it pay the rent and groceries and stuff like that, right? It depends on what kind of company it is, how you're going to get clients. So I would need that information. But a lot of people start, let's say they're consulting independently, they ask their employer, would you like to be my client? I'm going to start a consulting business. I'm going to leave here, whether you become my client or not, but I'd love for you to be my first client. And they'll work part-time consulting for what had been their employer, if that makes sense. They convert their employer to their first client. And that's doubly good because it's income, but it's also credibility, because they're able to say, this company that I worked for actually hired me as a consultant. So they obviously, I know what I'm doing. Okay, let's see. What's your opinion on joining professional associations, more specifically SHRM? Personal choice there, Zachary. I was a SHRM member for years. I'm an HR person. It's not so relevant to me anymore. A lot of HR people are members, but I couldn't really make a determination on that. It depends what you want out of your professional association. How are you doing? Thanks for the invitation to ask questions live. I'm in the Caribbean. 2 businesses registered to my name plus a nonprofit. That's awesome. But I'm out of personal savings. I spend more time assisting those in need rather than pushing my own business ventures. Common problem. What can I do differently to strike the right balance? I mean, it's saying I am not infinitely, I don't have more hours than anyone else in the day, right, Marie? I have 24. I have to sleep. I have to eat. I may have people or animals I have to take care of. And I don't help the world when I give away my wisdom for free, such that I'm not able to support myself. It is clarity about my good, my benefit to the world is only possible when it is structured in such a way that I get paid at least enough to eat, right? At least enough to live on. So a lot of times we say, well, I'm going to help everybody. I mean, I've done that, right? I'm going to help everybody and I'm going to give away all my advice for free. And there's no time to have a business. And then you run out of money and, you can't keep the electricity on. So it's really going back to, why did you start this business? Why did you have the idea to get into this business to help people in a specific way? And people have to pay for your services. You have to figure out a service that you feel really good about charging money for. One reason a lot of people give away a lot of their time, marketing consultants and career coaches and others, is because they don't really feel confident about the services to charge money. And that is a life learning, a lesson that you get when you give away so much of it that you're like, these people don't even appreciate, right? Because you know why? You don't appreciate it. You don't value it enough. Nobody is going to value your work, your services, until you do. That's a really important thing. Okay. What else? Let's see. Are you saying we can't put our stream on YouTube? Maybe, maybe just because of the challenges there. Let's see if I can find some real comments. If you left a comment, can you leave it again? Because they're sort of being drowned out by, ignorant, whatever bots. Let's see. How could I overcome the objection about needing a college degree when I have over 20 years of experience? They can't teach what I know in college. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? I'm so happy that that Google and other companies are dropping their college degree requirements. They haven't been necessary for decades. I've been writing about this, and now they're finally saying we don't need it. It's really, here's what it is, Janelle. Only the people who get you deserve you. If they don't see straight on your resume and in your LinkedIn profile what you can do for them, they are not the right people. You're not going to really be able to convince them. You're going to go to the next, the next, the next. I always say, entrepreneurs, people who have their own business, solopreneurs, like it's just them in their business, they have a saying, and it's really handy for working people too. It's really handy for job seekers. And the saying is, some will, some won't. So what? Next. Meaning, some people will say yes. Some employers will say yes, and that's great. Some employers will say no. Some will, some won't. So what? We don't care. And next, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. That has to be our mantra. They want the degree. I don't have a degree. God bless. That's a 1965 requirement. It shouldn't have anything to do with this job. If you cannot see what I can give you coming to work for your organization, I'm on to the next. And don't even waste any time thinking about them, because they don't deserve you. They don't deserve to have you on their team. Okay, what do we got? I want a better paying job because my motivation in my current role is dropping. Yes, this happens. How do I go about this to manage the situation before I get something better? Okay, that's a beautiful question. How do I find a mental, emotional space to be in this job until I can quit? Here's what it is. The minute your attention turns to the outside world, outside those walls, and you start looking, it's going to shift your mood. As long as you're thinking about, this job is boring, they don't appreciate me, I'm underpaid, they're sucking away your energy. On top of underpaying you, they're sucking away your energy. Don't let them in. Don't let them in emotionally. You say, this was cool. This job was a stepping stone to the next thing. Now it's all about Indeed.com. It's all about LinkedIn. It's all about the job search. And the minute you really commit to leave there, they will not bother you as much. They will not bother you as much. And you know what happens all the time? Your manager will come up to you and say, are you okay? You seem a little distant. They can tell energetically that you're not completely focused on the job like you used to. You're doing the job, but emotionally, what they think of you is not as important to you anymore, because you got people out here interviewing you. And one thing people say about interviewing when they're working full time is that it can be really fun, and it can be stimulating and affirming, because they're having more interesting, more intellectually stimulating conversations on the interviews than they have at their current job. And sometimes your boss will come up to you and say, you know what, I'm going to give you a raise. No reason. I'm going to give you a pay raise, because they can feel the energy. We're animals, and we can read this energy between people. They can tell that you don't care so much what they think about you, and they'll throw money at you, and you'll say, oh, no, that's okay. And then you'll give notice. This is the most common arc. People start looking outside, and their whole thing changes. They're like, I've been undervalued here. But, rather than wallow in that and feel bad about that, I'm just going to leave and I'm going to wish them well. I'm going to wish them blessings on their path. They didn't get me. They didn't value me. These people do. That doesn't make these people here that I've been working for bad people. It means that at a certain point, when I came to work here, my flame was dim and I didn't know my own value. And working here helped me know my value such that I can take my skills to somebody else who's going to make better use of them. But it's a mental, emotional shift that say, I can do this. I mean, I'm emotionally checked out of this job. I'm still going to do the job, but I'm going to focus on the rest of the world. Okay. Will you ever resume your podcast? Iris, thank you. I am going to resume the podcast. It's been a year and a couple of months. I don't think it's laziness. I always feel like when you don't do something that you really want to do, there's an energetic reason. It's going to come out probably before Christmas. I moved. Our family moved cross country, and that is kind of an excuse, but um, the podcast is coming back. So thank you. I'm so glad you like it. Just got selected for a position that I applied to. Yay! Congratulations. Interviews, tests. Okay, okay, okay. Just waiting for the formal offer, and suddenly a message: you are a candidate, but the position is on hold due to organizational moves. And then silence. What should you think about this? You go on. If they come back, they come back. If they come back, they come back. You're not going to wait by the phone. It's like dating. You're not waiting by the phone. I'm cute. I'm out here. I'm a great person. And if one person says, yeah, it's not the right time for me to be in a relationship, okay, I understand. Boom, gone. You're gone. Think about it like dating. You're not going to wait, right? Keep looking. You'll find something else. If they contact you later, it'll depend on your situation then. But you're awesome. You basically got to the offer stage. So take that as, something to really feel good about. It's really difficult to get the attention of the head of HRs when you're starting fresh in a new country. You don't want, no, you don't want the head of HR. That person is not important to you. You want your hiring manager, your function. Unless you're trying to work in HR, the head of HR is no one to you. Don't worry about them. They're deluged with candidates trying to get their attention. It doesn't even matter. It's the department manager for your department that you want to get in front of. Interviewing/job hunt process has changed significantly since the pandemic. What is reasonable to expect in terms of time frames for securing a new position? Depends obviously on the job. If it's fast food, if it's a movie theater, a week or less, right? If it's sort of like a typically entry level office job, recruiting coordinator or a customer service rep, 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe. If it's a staff level job, it could be 6 weeks. It's too slow. I apologize on behalf of all employers. Recruiting process is broken, obviously. If it's an executive job, it could be 4 months. It's quite ridiculous. And I just encourage you to trust your gut. And if it's taking too long, you don't even have to tell them I'm out. It's up to them to keep you warm, as I call it, to keep you warm in the warming tray. And if they're not doing that and you get a better offer, you take it. Right? Time and tide and Iris wait for no man, okay? Or woman. So you never stop job hunting. You don't wait for some company because it's taken them a long time and the VP's on vacation and we couldn't get the committee together. Hey, great. Glad to hear it, but I'm not sitting around by the phone, kind of like dating. Thanks for the invitation. I'm enjoying this conversation. You have good advice. Thanks so much, Marcella. I'm so glad you're here. Why your transferable skills are in demand? I need a little more info on that. What's the one-liner LinkedIn in-mail text that's more likely to break the ice with a recruiter headhunter? No, you're not going to do that, H, because here's the thing. If you have to reach out to a headhunter, there's already a break in the system. It should be smooth. Your LinkedIn profile itself is the one-liner. Your LinkedIn profile will bring in headhunters, recruiters. And if it's not doing that, there's no words that you could send to a headhunter that will change that. Wow, first 20 years of my career, I was tremendously successful, almost making it to CEO. Then the PE, that's private equity portfolio company I work for, went a different direction and hired someone else for the CEO role. She brought in her own executive team and we were all replaced. Oh my God. I went 6.5 years without a job or income and had to take a job far below my capabilities, which was apparent to them and myself. I just had to leave that job and now I'm irrelevant and it's gone. That's how this is. I can't get back to you. Let's see. Sorry, I'm not getting the rest of the story. So I'm assuming you left. You left the company with the PE thing. It's rebranding. It's executive rebranding. You were up for a CEO role. So there's nothing wrong with your skills, right? It's a mental shift. And I mentioned this at the very beginning of the LinkedIn Live event, maybe before you joined us. It's deciding what you want to do. Do you want to be CEO? Do you want to run a function? Which function? Which function do you want to run? And you're going to brand yourself specifically. The old branding, like 1980s, multi-skilled business leader with experience in finance operations, gone. It's not credible. No one is that, right? And it's too generic. It sounds like everything. Branding, the more general it is, the worse it is. The more specific it is, the better it is, which means you have to decide like a laser pointer, what do I want to do next? You have to decide. I have to decide. Everybody has to decide, what do we really want to do? I've only had one or two people contact me, Maureen says, in 20 years on LinkedIn. So then that's beautiful. That's good information because it says your LinkedIn profile is not doing what it needs to do, right? Your LinkedIn profile is not working. Does that make sense? That's good. That's nothing bad. That's just saying, okay, great. So I know what to do. It's not a mystery. My LinkedIn profile is not good. It's not targeted to the kinds of jobs I want. And maybe I don't know what kind of jobs I want. And that's a problem. I have to, I have to, get specific. I have to figure out what I want to add to block list. Took me a minute and I figured it out. I have to figure out what I want to do and brand myself for that. And then the recruiters will call or write to you. They will be there if your LinkedIn profile is effective. And if it's not effective, they don't call. That's the absolute reason why they're not calling you. Oh my gosh, do we block these people? I got my comments back. Yay. That's so great. Okay, let's get a little bit into add to block list. Yes, you are. You are blocked. Piece of garbage. Okay. How do I manage myself properly on the job to gain the respect of my peers and supervisor? Okay. We're back to our favorite question. Do they deserve you? I mean, you're going to obviously, to get their respect, you're going to try to do a great job by their metrics. And you're going to bring yourself fully. You're going to speak up when it's time to speak up. You're going to do it politely, but you are going to speak. You're going to be present. You're going to share your ideas. You're going to help other people, mentor them. But at a certain point, some will, some won't. So what next? If you're pushing a rock uphill every day at work, trying to get noticed, this is a common problem too. Trying to get noticed, trying to get promoted, trying to get validated, and it's not working. It's not you. It's not you. One of the reasons some people struggle to get noticed at work or to get respect at work is that they are too sparky, right? They have too much. People are intimidated by them. They're like freaked out because you might come into work and you just might be a lively person with ideas and good energy, and they might be like, oh, you know. Sometimes people try to neutralize you. Like I used to have a friend who was an artist, a painter, visual artist, and he was so mean. He would say, a lot of my friends are artists, but I put their art, they give me a piece of art, I put it in the bathroom. I hang it in the bathroom to neutralize them. Oh my gosh. That's what your coworkers sometimes do to you and your boss. They try to neutralize you. And one day you wake up and say, why am I allowing myself to be neutralized? A lot of companies would hire me. This is not the only one. So I want you to look beyond your work group and the person who puts fish in the microwave and smells up the whole office and the person who chews their ice at meetings. None of that matters. These are not the problems to solve. If you want one big question to ponder, it's what am I supposed to be doing and how do I do it? And that deserves your time and attention, not this other stuff, right? Trying to impress people that you just can't impress. And you may never be able to impress them. I've been in a situation where I worked with people who were not going to get me. They were just not going to get me. I was too weird, too whatever, too theatrical, and they weren't into it. And it took me a while to be like, why would I change? Right? God or the universe, whoever made me, I guess I'm supposed to be this way. And so I didn't change. At least I didn't change to please them. And I don't want you to squash yourself into a little box to please anyone either. Okay. How to start up. Big, great topic. Too much for this session. Okay. Terminated from my job without any valid reason. Got that one. And step into the industry with confidence. We talked about that. Overcome the objection but need a college degree. Absolutely. Danella, we talked about that. Uh, uh, Selected for a position. Yes, it was put on hold. We talked about that. And we talked about balancing your own business with tips for coping when forced back into the office. Currently struggling with returning due to risk of illness. I don't blame you. COVID is still raging. And this return to the office thing is nonsense. It is pure power and control. Now, look, it's validating for me, who's been writing and speaking about the unnatural, weird, and unethical and uncool and unadult need of some managers for power and control. I'm talking about this for 20 years, and all of a sudden it's in our faces with this return to the office. Why should people return to the office when they have proven that they can do their jobs perfectly well and maybe better at home? And guess what? No gasoline, no tolls, no risk of traffic accidents on the road or bad weather or dry cleaning for their clothes, 100 things. At home, the doorbell rings. It's somebody to fix something, or they're dropping off an Amazon package or whatever, and it's no problem. You can put a load of laundry in. It doesn't disrupt your work. You can chop up some vegetables and put them in the crock pot. Doesn't disrupt your work. It's power and control. They want to see you working. So in terms of the question, how do I conduct myself? I don't want to be here and I'm worried about the risk of illness, which is real. Then it's time to look beyond your company walls. I mean, maybe that's our theme today. Who are these people? Why do they still deserve you? There are other jobs. The fact that you have a job means you could get as good a job or better somewhere else. If you don't want to return to the office and they're forcing you, they're treating you like a child, not an adult. You are a very, very, very competent and mature adult. You can make your own decisions. You pay taxes. You live in our society, and nobody should be able to tell you where you have to go. That's absurd. It's not 1950. We have the technology now that any white collar, so-called knowledge worker job can basically be done from home. And if they won't let you do it from home, someone else will. Someone else will, I guarantee. And there is no reason for you to stick around with people who do not deserve you. All right, well, we could just do an opera. Okay. Head of HR, forget them. Doesn't matter unless you're applying for an HR job. Job interview on hold. Yeah, it's on hold. We talked about it. Do not wait by the phone. Apply for more stuff. What do we got? Workload that's double than what was stipulated in your offer letter. 3 to 5 accounts mentioned, but it's actually 9. You tell them, I didn't sign up for this, and I would love to do this job. It's a much harder job. It requires more pay, maybe more resources, or you heard me say it 100 times already. Look out. Where did this idea look, I know where the idea came from, that you get a job and you keep the job for 20 years. It came from our parents and our grandparents, because that's what they did. They got a job and they stayed there forever, but that's not the truth anymore. That's not the world that we're living in. And your ability and your willingness to change jobs and leave is part of your power, right? It's part of your power. The fact that you're not tied to your current job. Is there a list of interview questions that is in a book from HR? You mean the standard interview questions? Sure. A million books, articles, and podcasts. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What's your greatest weakness? What else have we got? What would your last boss say about you? If you were any kind of a tree, what kind of tree would you be? What kind of soup would you be? The worst questions, the worst questions. Why don't we just sit and talk about the job? I mentioned I'm an HR person. How did my teammates and I hire 10,000 people without asking them idiotic questions? I don't know. Maybe we just sat and talked about the job. So, James, it's so great to meet you. Did you get a cup of coffee? Oh, fabulous. Listen, James, first of all, do you have any questions for me? I'd love to answer your questions, because you might have a question, the answer to which would determine whether or not you could even do this job. So let's hear your questions first. Fantastic. No questions? Then let me tell you a little bit about the job and just get your thoughts. We talk like adults, like equals, not like the employers up here and the candidates down there. Because if you do that, then you get people who are desperate for a job. And that becomes your principal qualification, desperation, which is not good for growing a company, right? So you treat people like equals, like if someone's coming over to work on your plumbing, you don't insult them along the way to hiring them as a plumber, right? But somehow in the employment process, we're used to insulting candidates along the way to hiring them. And sometimes in many companies, it's even a requirement. You have to be willing to roll over and show your soft underbelly like a dog. And we're not doing that. You're not doing that anymore. Okay, if you already did it. Um, let's see. Have we got most of them? How to improve your risk management framework. Do I know what that is? Organizations are realizing that savvy risk management, oh, you mean like financial risk, is vital not only for avoiding threats, but also performance and growth. But how is risk best managed? It's way too broad for, I got to be more specific, Farouk. Let's see. Position went on hold. Forget the heads of HR, Nairobi, Kenya. Happy that you are here. Share with me your thoughts about HR practitioners or interviewers asking candidates how much the candidate expect to be paid. Are they right not to answer this question? You say, what I need to understand, what's the pay range? Well, that depends on you. What salary are you looking for? Oh, well, here's the thing. The salary that I would be looking for depends entirely on the role. And we would have to spend a couple hours together for me to understand the role as well as you do. Let's say it's a project management role. There are $45,000 US project managers, and there are $400,000 US project managers. Where does this job fall? Because actually knowing the salary tells you the scope of the role, doesn't it? If you know it's 120K project manager job, that's very different from a $200 project management job or a 60K job project management job. So you're allowed to say, I really can't give you a number, even in terms of my target salary, until I understand the scope, and I will best get the scope by understanding your salary range. And at a certain point, once again, if they will not play ball and they will not give you this very basic, reasonable piece of information, bye. I want you to get used to saying no thank you to folks who obviously do not have your best interests in mind. I want that to be normal and conventional. Look at ladies, you walk down the street and you get catcalled. You know what I'm talking about? Somebody, working on their car, coming out of a shop says, "Hey, sweetheart, you look good today." What do? Do you stop and give them the time of day? No, of course not. You walk by, you don't even pay attention to them because you're not going to dignify their ignorance with any kind of reaction at all. You talk to companies and they treat you badly right away and treat you like this, like you're down and they're up. It's nothing. Ghost them. Just get out. Go on to the next one. Go on. Move on. You're looking for just a little bit of human spark, a little bit of acknowledgement. People try to force you into stuff. I need to know which other companies you're interviewing with. Really? I need to have coffee with your mom and we can get our nails done. How dare you? You need to know what other companies I'm interviewing with? That is so none of your business. I would love to know the other candidates you're talking to, but you're not going to tell me that, right? We're taking back our dignity, right? Because you can keep job hunting for months if you're working at a job now and maybe you don't like it, but you're not going to jump out of the frying pan into the fire. You're going to hold out for people that are human. Okay. Homework assignments during the interview process. Great question. Homework assignments. It really depends on the energy. If you have liked them and liked the company and liked the role and it's felt like a good process and you think you really want the job, I would devote 30 minutes to a homework project. And if they give you a project that is so clearly not 30 minutes, we want you to create a marketing plan. You say, "Oh, I would love to do it." I usually donate 30 minutes during any interview process to a homework or a take-home assignment. And then after that, I'm happy to complete this project, which I would expect to take, let's say, 4 to 6 hours at my normal rate of $100 an hour. And if that's agreeable, then let me know. Otherwise, I'll do the little short version. And some of them will ghost you right then and there because you have self-esteem, sadly. Can I share a resume? Unfortunately, that's not a service that I have. From Turkey, would love to move and get a job in Europe. Any advice where to start? An immigration lawyer, absolutely. First 20 minutes. Oh, here we go. Here we go. We lost this question before. Had to leave that job, and now my relevant career experience was too long ago per recruiters. Relevant for what? Relevant for what? They were just looking at you for a CEO 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago. You know, recruiters their clients are saying, "I want square peg for square hole," right? So they don't want any variation. Um, and oh, I understand, that's right. You had a job far below your capabilities. So you had like a mojo drop. You like, it was like, oh no, what happened to my credibility? What happened to my career? It's fine. You're rebuilding now, but it's a reinvention, and it's deciding what you want to do, and you're going to brand yourself for that specifically. Look, when you have a gap in your resume, a year, 2 years, 6.5 years, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. When you have a gap, you could have won the lottery. You could have gotten an inheritance. You could have done a crypto business and made $10 million. You could have done anything. The assumption that it's wrong of you to take time off because it means there's something defective about you is so gross and broken and toxic. I don't even want you talking to people who say, well, I'm concerned about this gap. Really? Because that's interesting. Because if someone were a known like rich person, right, and started a company and sold the company, everyone would applaud them. They took time off. But with me, because I have W-2 work or paid payroll employment on my resume, somehow it's evil or wrong of me to step off the conveyor belt. Like, no, no. And you're going to brand yourself for what you want to do. And the people that are afraid of you, or they downgrade you, or they don't have time for you because you had a gap, or you haven't done exactly the stuff they want to see, God bless. I think a lot of people our age, we might be a similar age, should really think about starting their own business, because you can bring your credibility out instantly and get paid for it instantly versus trying to get a job and fighting all these stupid perceptions from a really ignorant part of the for a fearful brain. I really, it is sad how, as job seekers, people's ego and self-esteem gets battered by recruiters and interviewers sometimes who know nothing about their experience and can't even understand the words if someone tried to teach them because of their training. And I don't want you to buy into that and let anybody in to damage your self-esteem. I mean, is it wrong to ask, what have you seen in my CV that made you invite me for an interview? It's fine. It doesn't get you any ground though. What you're trying to do in an interview, there's two main things you're trying to do in an interview, right? In the screening interview is get in front of the hiring manager. Basically say what they want you to say, be who they want you to be to get in front of the hiring manager. If you want the job, right? And if it's true to you, who you are, and you're not debasing yourself. And then with the hiring manager, it's what's the pain? You're trying to figure out what's the pain. The energy is like, well, tell me about yourself. What have you done? Have you done this? Have you done that? Yeah, I've done all this stuff, but let's talk about what problem you're trying to solve here at XYZ Plastics. What's really going on? You have like a consulting conversation. And the more senior you are, the more senior the jobs you're applying for, the more critical this is. Listen, I brought so many candidates up to meet our CEO when I was running HR, and I would drop them off. And immediately, by the time I turned around and was getting ready to leave, they were already saying, so tell me what's going on in the business. It was not like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And what's your greatest weakness? There was none of this, because these senior level interviews are like, yeah, so I see you guys are doing XYZ. How's that going? Right away, it was like two business people having coffee. And of course, this is what every interview should be. But also, you have to step into that to be confident enough to go into an interview and get into that slipstream, because your time is valuable. They're getting paid for the interview. You're not. See, talked about LinkedIn is the key to getting recruiters to contact you. Stay able to purchase your previous live shows. You don't have to purchase them. They're going to be on YouTube, or you're going to be able to find them. Talked about homework assignments, 30 minutes. It's rare to come across management shares your perspective, treating employees as human. How can you find? It's going to be in their branding. It's going to be in their job ads. It's going to be in their reputation on a site like Glassdoor, where people rate employers. But there are a lot of more employers all the time out on LinkedIn saying, talent is the 100% of the thing with us. Look, if a job ad says XYZ company has an immediate need for blah, 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 and you must have these 14 things, and, don't even apply unless you're this and that. Obviously, they don't care about people, right? They're insulting you right in the job ad. Or they say the selected candidate will possess. It's like, oh, you're talking right past me to the selected candidate who could not ever be me. I mean, right away, they're making it clear they don't give a dang about the people reading their job ads. You are probably not the selected candidate, or they wouldn't be addressing you in the third person, right? And then other people say, we're growing, we're doing this kind of stuff, we're looking for a person to do this. They're chill. And you can tell right away from their very first live interaction whether they're going to be human with you or they're not. And it's worth it to look. It's worth it to keep looking, right? I don't know if you remember dating. It's been a minute for me, but I dated so many unsuitable guys, so many, or went out with them once, and you start to be like, are there any decent guys out here? And then, something else shifts. And maybe it shifted in me, in the universe. I don't know. Now I'm married to the same guy for 30 years and we raised 5 kids. So, we have to be willing to say no in order for the right thing to come in. We cannot say, well, I'm afraid I'm going to take the wrong thing. You can take the wrong thing, but then you have to keep looking. You don't give up at that point. You say, well, I'm just going to keep looking. I took this job, but I'm still going to keep looking. I'm not going to stop my job search. Who can stop a job search now in the United States where they have this doctrine that I mentioned of employment at will, and anybody can be laid off at any time with no notice and without any reason and with no severance? So you got to keep job hunting. You got to keep at least one eye on the outside job market. How are we doing time wise? 9 minutes. See if we have any new questions. Oh, this is fantastic. I just want to say I followed your advice. I have a job I love now, doing something that fits my values. Congratulations to you. That is just so magnificent to hear. And I'm so happy for you. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. You made my day. Is executive coaching worth it? It's all about the coach that you use. There's some good ones and some bad ones, just like anything, right? Just like anything. Is it worth it to get a haircut? Well, it's all about the stylist. Is it worth it to use a stager when you're selling your house? Oh, it's all about the person. Executive coaching, I mean, it runs the gamut from amazing life-changing coaches. I hope I make a contribution there, to coaches that no, be a waste of your time and money. It's listen to the gut, listen to the trusty gut. What if you have tons of interviews but nothing materializes? Is that normal these days? Yes, it is. Should it take months to find a job? It can, but the thing to do is keep putting irons in the fire. I would like you to apply for 5, 7, 10, 12 jobs a week. And if you're not getting, if you're not getting anything from these job ads, there is this war for talent going on. A lot of companies are hiring. Probably means it's time to tweak your resume. If the resume is just not doing anything for you, it's probably time to tweak the resume. And the specific way that you want to tweak your resume is make it more specific to the job you want. This is a bad brand, okay? I can do any kind of office work, administrative, purchasing, office management. Nobody has a need for that. Pick one thing. Pick one thing. If it doesn't pan out right away, you'll tweak it, but pick one thing. I'm an office manager who thrives on keeping a busy office humming and an overstressed CEO sane. Use a human voice, use the word I, experience in, Microsoft Suite, project management software, travel scheduling, whatever. Just crisp and confident. You pick a thing that you want to be. It's like you're going to a party. Who are you going as? Are you going as a pirate? Like a Halloween party. Are you going as a pirate? Are you going as a princess from a Disney movie? What are you going as? You have to decide in the job search also, what am I going as? Right? You can't just say, I do all this stuff. You decide. That completely sucks away your power. So if your resume is not getting any uptick, it's not getting any pickup, you have to look and say, is my resume branding me for something? Or am I just like out here, like, I don't know what I want to do, which is the worst brand there is. Jack of all trades, Jill of all trades. No, because there's no such thing. And no one has that problem. No hiring manager has that problem. What else? Let's see. We talked about explaining why you resigned, and we have 6 minutes. Same thing, Abraham. What to do to initiate independent business, decide what you love to do, what you would like to do for money, and who has that need. And is that need enough for them to pay money for you to have that need go away? It doesn't matter whether it's plumbing, whether it is consulting on where to send your child to school. It doesn't matter whether it's, home and office organizing or marketing consulting. You're going to treat it like a marketing exercise from the very beginning. Job search or starting a consulting business. What problem can I solve? What problems have you solved already? Wow. Greetings from here. We still don't know where that is. I was forced to resign my job last year after being set up to be killed. I'm sorry to hear about that. After refusing bribes and corruption, how do I go over my next job interview? If asked why I quit my job, it was a great job. I learned a lot, but I needed to devote all my time to job search. It wasn't the kind of job I could do while I was working, while I was conducting a job search on the side. Um, let's see. Missed on the next one. What if you have tons of interviews, nothing materializes? Talked about that. What to do with all these young recruiters that dismiss older professionals? Next, next, next. Some will, some won't. So what next, right? Don't spend any time with them. Once you realize, look, the very first outreach from a recruiter, young or old, is going to tell you a lot. And especially when you respond and they come back to you, it's going to tell you everything you need to know. So they say, "Hey, Alex, would you like to hop on the phone and talk about an opportunity that I'm working on?" You can say, "Send me a job description and the salary info, and then I'll decide." There's no reason to get on the phone without knowing who's hiring, or specifically without knowing what's the role and was it pay. Like that. That's the oldest, stupidest recruiting thing in the world, literally from the 70s. It's like, let's get on the phone and we'll talk about it. And then they still won't tell you the salary range. You say, I get a lot of recruiter inquiries. Send me a JD. That's a job description and salary information. And it may be a great fit. And then in that case, I'd be happy to jump on the phone. Right. As far as people that dismiss older professionals, it's only the people that get you deserve you. There are a lot of folks who will dismiss people of a certain age, and it's like there are people that will dismiss all black candidates, all Latino candidates, all whatever. Many people are walking around being dismissed for no good reason, and we all have the same answer and response and remedy, which is like, yeah, bye. You don't have time for that. I don't have time. Right? If my age is a factor when it's nothing but wisdom, accumulated experience and wisdom, and that's a problem for you, God bless. God bless. Blessings on your path. Right? Because you're not going to educate people, you're not going to change them. No, but really, I have all this experience. 7.5 billion people in the world, and we're never going to make them all like us. We're never going to get them all to approve of us, but they are not a problem. The young recruiters that don't recognize your talent as a mature job seeker, that's not your problem. The problem is I'm still looking for the right one, right? It would be like if in the dating world we said, "Oh, what about all these people who don't like me because of my piercing or whatever? What about them? We don't even want to talk about them. They're not even worth our discussion. They don't like you. They're shallow, whatever they are. Who cares? We don't even have the time or the emotional energy left over to think about them. God bless them, and whoosh, out of the frame, right? And we're still focused on who are the right people. That makes sense? Okay, so that is 158, and I maybe can answer another question or two. Let's see. Homework we did. From Rio, bonjour. Very glad you're here from Rio. I've changed so many job profiles that I'm confused. Not sure what that means. You mean your LinkedIn profile? It's going to be about zeroing in on what you want to do and then branding yourself for what you want to do versus all the things that you can do. Simply stated. Thank you, Omar, for your kind words. That's so nice of you. Talked about performance reviews. Spain. Welcome, Jorge from Spain. Best way forward, if not promoted, you decide. Is your future best there, or does it make sense to stay there and wait? Is there something still really good to get, some treasure in that job, or have you gotten all the treasure and is it time to leave? The promotion or the lack of the promotion is just a wake up call to look at it and say, is this still the right place for me? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question. Did I answer them all? Maybe. I think I did. Seems kind of anticlimactic, though. Let's see. Thank you, Augusta. Yeah, that's everything. So anyway, you guys are awesome. Very, very glad that you came to the live stream this week. I'll be back next Thursday. That's the 25th of August, and talking about reinvention. And I'm here on LinkedIn, and I'm always happy to share ideas with you. Very glad to see you here today, and have a fantastic weekend. I hope you do something good for yourself. Just like something fun. Doesn't even have to cost any money. Just take a little time for yourself. You're so worth it. That's the thing. You being good, feeling supported is just the most important thing in the whole wide world. So happy to talk with you again today, and enjoy your weekend. And thanks for being here. Take care.